Welcome to another episode of Hot Topic and Fresh News, bringing you the latest news this 22nd day of March, 2024. We begin with a heartbreaking story from Gaza, where 12-year-old Alma recounts the tragic loss of her entire family during the Israel-Gaza war in December of the last year. Buried under the rubble of her home for more than 3 hours, Alma was the sole survivor of what is alleged to be an Israeli airstrike. Her parents, Mohammed and Naima, and her siblings, Ghanem, Kainan, Rehab, and the 18-month-old Tarazan, all perished in the attack. Alma's narrative paints a harrowing picture of the war's impact on Gaza's civilian population. The war, which began in October 2023, has claimed the lives of approximately 31,923 people, including around 13,000 children. This startling figure comes from UNICEF, highlighting what they've called a staggering rate of casualties. The war, sparked by Hamas attacks on Israel, has left at least 20,000 children orphaned, according to preliminary reports from the Palestinian Center for Human Rights. Alma, now living with her uncle's family in a tent in Rafah, southern Gaza, continues to grapple with the trauma of her loss. Despite the bleak conditions, she manages to find fleeting moments of happiness with her new family. However, her dreams of becoming a doctor have been replaced with a desperate longing for safety, away from the relentless conflict. She hopes to join her grandmother, who resides abroad. Amid the ongoing conflict, the Israeli government maintains that they make every effort to minimize civilian casualties. However, Palestinians argue that residential buildings, often home to displaced families, are targeted, resulting in the loss of innocent lives. A photograph shared by Alma's relatives poignantly illustrates this point. The image shows Alma with her 6 young cousins, all of whom were killed in the very same attack that claimed her immediate family. We'll have further discussions on this pressing topic later in the program. Please stay tuned for more comprehensive news and analysis on Hot Topic and Fresh News. Hello, and a warm welcome to all our listeners out there. This is Emily, your go-to source for all the latest global news, and you're listening to Hot Topic and Fresh News, your daily roundup of the most pressing stories from around the world. I'm joined by my co-host, the very astute and insightful David, who hails from sunny San Francisco. David has a knack for dissecting complex political dynamics and providing sharp analysis, offering clarity in this chaotic world we live in. Are you ready to delve into the headlines today, David?
Absolutely, Emily. Each day brings new stories that have a profound impact on our lives, and I'm eager to unpack them with you and our listeners.
That's the spirit, David. Today's main story might shock you, but it's important to shed light on these significant events that shape our world. Remember, folks, the story we're about to dive into today is a testament to the power of the human spirit amid unimaginable suffering. But before we delve into that, a quick note. If you haven't already done so, make sure to subscribe to our channel, enable notifications, and leave your comments. We enjoy reading your thoughts and perspectives. Sharing our podcast with your friends and family also helps us continue bringing you these important stories. Now, brace yourselves, listeners, because what I'm about to disclose will leave you stunned. Stay tuned, and don't forget, these news stories are hot off the press.
This account paints a grim picture of the toll of war on civilians, particularly innocent children. Could we possibly understand the extent of this devastation and what makes this case stand out?
The story of Alma is indeed a heart-wrenching one. It's emblematic of the crisis that thousands of children in Gaza are facing. The devastation isn't limited to physical harm or loss of life. It's the lifelong psychological trauma these children are left to deal with.
From your experience, how common are these kinds of casualties in conflict zones?
Unfortunately, in conflict zones, civilians often bear the brunt of the violence, and children are the most vulnerable. In the Israel-Gaza war specifically, we've seen a significant number of children lose their lives.
Alma's words paint a vivid picture of the conditions in the aftermath of the bombings. Could you talk about the living conditions of survivors?
Survivors like Alma are often displaced and left with little to no options for shelter. Alma, for instance, currently lives in a tent with her uncle's family. The living conditions are incredibly challenging, lacking even basic necessities in many instances.
Finally, what can we take away from Alma's story?
Alma's story is a stark reminder of the human cost of war. It underscores the urgent need for peaceful resolutions to conflicts and better protections for civilians, especially children, caught in the crossfire. The world needs to pay attention to these voices and work towards preventing such tragedies.
It's hard to comprehend the scale of devastation mentioned here. Can you share more on the broader impact of this war on the Palestinian population?
Absolutely. The war's impact extends far beyond the physical destruction of homes and infrastructure. The loss of life is staggering. UNICEF reports that 13,000 children in Gaza have been killed since the conflict began. That's a horrifically high rate. The overall death toll stands at least at 31,923 people. The World Health Organization deems these figures as credible, and the actual numbers could be even higher.
The report mentions that Alma's family tried to escape the bombings, but were unsuccessful. What does this say about the options available to civilians in conflict zones?
What Alma's family experienced is tragically common in conflict zones. Civilians often have limited options for safe refuge. Despite their best efforts to flee, Alma's family was caught in the bombings. This highlights the harsh reality of civilians being trapped in these war zones, with peril around every corner.
Alma finds some comfort with her uncle's family, but the report says she could lose her life at any minute. Can you elaborate on this constant threat they live under?
In war-ridden regions like Rafah, the threat of violence is persistent and pervasive. Civilians, especially children, are under the constant threat of bombings and ground assaults. Unfortunately, this war doesn't discriminate, and anyone can be a casualty at any moment.
The figures here are staggering. What does the international community say about this situation?
The global response has been one of shock and condemnation. The United Nations describes the rate of child casualties as staggering, but turning this outcry into tangible action to cease the violence and protect innocent civilians is the real challenge. The world needs to move from expressing dismay to taking decisive action.
The report mentions that Israel insists it does all it can to minimize civilian casualties. How can we understand this statement in the context of the devastation we see?
This statement has been a subject of intense debate. While Israel maintains that it takes measures to avoid civilian casualties, incidents like the one involving Alma's family cast a shadow over these claims. The high civilian death toll and the indiscriminate bombing of residential buildings occupied by displaced families are points of contention.
How many more children are we talking about who, like Alma, have been orphaned by this war?
The number is staggering. Preliminary findings by the Palestinian Center for Human Rights estimate that there are at least 20,000 orphans as a result of this war, and that's only until February. The true number could be higher, but the difficulty in accessing information makes it hard to confirm.
The report mentions Alma's aspirations before the war. Can you talk more about the impact of war on the dreams and expectations of children?
War has a devastating impact on the dreams and lives of children. Alma once dreamt of becoming a doctor, a dream now overshadowed by her loss. She represents thousands of children whose futures have been stolen by this conflict, their dreams replaced by nightmares of war.
Finally, Alma expresses a desire to escape from Gaza and reach her grandmother. How realistic is this goal for children like her?
Unfortunately, it's not easy for children like Alma to escape the war-torn regions. There are immense political, legal, and logistical challenges. Despite the hope to find safety and solace in their extended family, the harsh realities of war often make it a distant dream. Thank you for tuning in today, dear listeners. We've had a deep and insightful discussion about the current conflict and its devastating effects on innocent civilians. Your engagement and feedback are what keep us going. Remember to subscribe and activate notifications so you never miss a conversation. We encourage you to share our podcast with anyone who might find these discussions enlightening. And we'd love to hear your thoughts, so feel free to leave a comment.
And if you've been wondering about our program times, Well, we're here every day, serving up fresh takes on the news. We've got some really intriguing topics lined up that you won't want to miss. Think of it as the best kind of spoiler alert.
We're grateful to all of you for joining us on this journey into the heart of the news. We're already looking forward to our next episode.
Absolutely. Can't wait to dive into more discussions with you guys. But for now, always remember our motto. Taylor, stay in the loop, keep your eyes on the news. Our channel's content will amuse.